Hello, everyone. This is Wes Fryer. I'm coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina on Monday, February the 17th, 2025. And I call this my dangerous dispatch. I really didn't want to record this evening, but I feel like I need to. And this is something that I have started to do as part of a Patreon channel. And if you're interested in additional updates that relate to the topics I will talk about here, I would invite you to join the community that I've started on Patreon, which you can find at patreon.com/Wes Fryer. What I'd like to talk about real briefly this evening are 5 different things. First of all, a news fast, which I'm about to do again this week. I took a news. I want to talk about the benefits of this, not just cutting completely out of all news, but taking a fast and how important it is to be intentional about how much we open ourselves up to the news feed today. I want to talk about Heather Cox Richardson, who continues to be one of my best filtered news sources, and that is something that I'm seeking to do through this update. And I want to encourage you to do as well, is to seek trusted voices, trusted news sources who can filter the news. And that can oftentimes be better than simply just jumping into headlines. I want to talk a little bit about her. Then there's 2 specific articles that I've come across this week that I have read most of, and I'm going to finish. And I really think that these 2 authors, and there's 2 different authors in the case of the Foreign Affairs article, do a good job of putting things in context about where we are and what we might want to consider doing or not doing in this season of human history. The last thing I'll talk about are BlueSky lists. And in the spirit of serving as filters for each other, it can be very helpful to be able to create curated lists, especially ones that don't have any advertising with them. And so I want to talk just real briefly about BlueSky. Let me talk about a news fast. So I have been on a bit of a roller coaster, as I would guess a number of you have, with regard to the news and what's happening in our country and just the incredible fire hose of craziness that is now the news cycle. I decided, I think on Tuesday of this last week, to go on a news fast. And for a little over 2 days, I actually did not open up my news app as I usually did. Generally, my my habit is to open up my Google News app on my iPhone, and I kind of start my day with news. I do have some different apps that I want. I use the Associated Press. I also use Flipboard, where I have subscribed to a bunch of things. And basically, I want to check in with the news. I also use Substack, which I'm going to talk a little bit about. But I was not doing well. And even this evening, with some of the things that I have read, I have recognized in myself that I need to take a step back. And I think one of the most important things that we can do is to take assertive control over the information feeds that are coming into us. Um, yes, it's true to some extent that there's nothing new under the sun in terms of like human motivation and things that people do. I mean, we're still all human beings, but the velocity of information and the quantity of information is very different today than it ever has been in human history. And I really don't think that our brains have had time to adjust to this adequately. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed, I think you're with everybody else in the country and maybe the world who's connected and who is choosing to really plug into the news cycle. And so I just want to tell you what a benefit it was for me last week to take several days actually to not look at news. And when I came back, the world was still turning, and I literally felt so much more at peace not having my head filled with so many different headlines. And so this is going to look different for different people, but I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of a testimony here that was really good for me last week. It really allowed me to focus on work and to focus on other things, because there are so many other things that are happening in our lives and in our world besides the news cycle and what's happening with national and international news. Those things are important, and I'm not advocating that we just tune out and disregard news. But I am saying that wellness and health and mental health is so important. And for someone like me who really enjoys being up on current events and is probably a bit of an addict when it comes to social media and the news, I really cannot commend to you enough this idea of a news fast. Okay, point number 2. Heather Cox Richardson. I think I've mentioned her before in some other updates. She is a historian, and I read one of her books, How the South Won the Civil War. I actually listened to that book this last year, and it was an outstanding, outstanding book that connected so many dots. But her Substack that she writes is called Letters from an American. And most days she has a post and she cites her sources and she puts many things in a historical context. And we have many things happening today which are without precedent in history of the short history that we have here in the United States. We're just, almost 250 years old. And there's some really significant things that are happening. And I think that finding people like Heather who are summarizing the news, who are adding some context to it, that can be a real good way to dip into the news, but not just be overwhelmed by all the granular details of all the different articles. There's so many things going on, and we all have different trusted voices. One of the most important things that we can do is curate our own lists of trusted voices and serve as filters for each other, for the individuals and the organizations that we consider to be valuable and trusted voices. That's part of what I'm doing here right now. And so I'm telling you that she's one of my best trusted voices, and I really commend her to you. You can get her updates through email, or you can use the Substack app, which I use, and it's excellent. Okay, let's talk about Anne Applebaum. Anne Applebaum is a writer and a historian, and I have not read one of Anne's books yet. The one that I've got on my list is Autocracy, Inc., The Dictators Who Want to Run the World. I have, however, read a large number of her articles, and this article, which I have a free paywall-free link, which this is kind of a cool trick. You can put most publications that are behind a paywall into the website archive.ph, and you can obtain a paywall-free version that you can read. And so this is an article that she wrote in The Atlantic. It's called "There's a Term for What Trump and Musk Are Doing," and it's called Regime Change. And this is an outstanding article putting together what appears to be chaotic and maybe not coordinated and intentional, and really, I think, helps us see with some greater clarity the reasons why things are happening and the strategy behind what is happening, and then challenges us to think about what we could do and what we can do as individuals. We need to do what we can do with what we have. And some days that's going to mean maybe not doing anything in terms of like global affairs and national politics. But whether it's something really small, like just calling our representative, or sharing a news source with other people, or you know, attending some kind of a meeting, helping educate ourselves, but it could end up, attending a rally, attending a protest, supporting organizations, supporting political candidates, officials. It's really important that we support our elected officials that are trying to represent us and trying to stay true to our values in the United States, which, by the way, are codified in the United States Constitution. And they include things like representative democracy, a respect for human rights, a respect for religious tolerance, all of those things. Which is like the focus of my Patreon, along with media literacy. So check out this Anne Applebaum article. All of the links that I'm sharing here, by the way, I'm going to include in the description of this video. And then you can also have a link to this slideshow where I've included these links as well. Okay, item number 4, Foreign Affairs article. Now, this was actually shared with me by Dr. Thomas Ho, who I've followed and connected with on social media, and I'm going to talk in a minute about BlueSky, but it's because of that connection that I found this article. This is an outstanding article from Foreign Affairs that was published on February, I guess does it say it's the February 22nd edition? It's the current issue of Foreign Affairs, and it's called The Path to American Authoritarianism: What Comes After Democratic Breakdown. And what these authors, the two authors, Stephen Levitsky and Lucan, are arguing is that what we're experiencing right now in the United States is not a full-blown turn to fascism and to single-party dictatorship. We continue to have many of the trappings of a free society and of a representative democracy, but we have authoritarians who are utilizing everything within their power to really try and stifle dissent and to control the message and to promote, their agenda, which unfortunately is not really, it's not supportive of uh, a representative democracy in which we have a multi-party system and we have, competing voices. I don't know if what they say, which is sort of like a softer fascism, is true or not, but I think that their analysis is really worth considering, and that's why I'm sharing this article with you and recommending this to you. So last thing, let's talk about BlueSky. So I am using and have used a variety of different social media platforms, and you can go to wesfryer.com and see a whole list of those. I've been a big fan of using social media platforms to discover new ideas. In fact, that's what that little shortened link down there by my picture is, wfryer.me/ideas. That is a workshop and a conference breakout session that I've done for over 10 years. That's called Discovering Useful Ideas or Discovering Good Ideas. And it's one of the great reasons why we want to use, I want to use social media platforms, is to be able to hang out with other people's brains and their ideas, and then be able to, somewhat serendipitously encounter books, podcasts, videos, articles, things that are going to enrich my life. They're going to help me become better informed, but in some cases it may be transformative, because we've probably each had an experience where we've read a book or we've seen a movie or we've been introduced to a philosophy that can become very transformative. And so BlueSky is a platform that started from Twitter before Twitter actually sold and was bought by Elon Musk. And this is the home for BlueSky. This is just showing a feed of people that I'm following. This is my profile, and you can set up a free profile on BlueSky. But when I click on my home button up here at the top, I've got some different lists, and some of these are created by BlueSky. So Discover is going to be, stuff other people are following. It's going to be an algorithmically generated feed. Popular with Friends is customized, though, because for the people who I follow. So right now I follow about 1.6 thousand folks and accounts. All right. So of all of these accounts, the articles which are popular with them or the posts which are popular with them come up here in this feed. So everybody has these three lists. Now, the next ones are custom lists. And so I have one I call Yodas, which is just like sort of gurus of a lot of media literacy, education, technology stuff, because that's a lot of what I follow. But there's some other things there too. Astronomy, I have a list. I have a list for media literacy. I have a list of journalists. But then this is one that I just created this last week. And my friend Lucy Gray, who is up in Chicago, and she's a Apple Distinguished Educator. She's a very connected educator. She's a very strong leader in the area of global education. She started a new community that she calls Thrive. And so this is one of my lists. And so lists are, I don't think on BlueSky, I know on Mastodon, they're not publicly shareable. You can create these lists. I guess they are. Yeah. And so I'll include actually a list of this Thrive community. So we had a Zoom call this last week, and I asked the folks who were on the call, for their BlueSky links. And so then I created this list of links, and it's pinned to my homepage. So what's so cool is now for just this community, this is like 5 or 6 people, I can see a list of the posts that these individuals have shared. And there's Thomas Ho's share with me of this, article about competitive authoritarianism. it is so powerful to be able to create a curated list like that, and be able to use that yourself and then also share that with other people. So I will include a link to this list of the Thrive community on, like I said, my page that I have the description for this video, but then I'll also put that here in the slideshow. So that's my dangerous dispatch for February 17th, 2025. I hope that you are managing to do well and to stay optimistic and to stay hopeful. I think that hope is the number one thing that we all need. It is so easy to be overwhelmed. We need to build community, both face-to-face in person and also online. We need to decide how we're going to engage with social media and the news. I think that fasting and experimenting with fasting is very helpful. One of the things that I've been told by others who have fasted with food in the past, I'm not a big food faster, is that it really can help you become more reflective and more aware. And that was certainly true for me this past week. But I want to share hope with you because there are so many good people out there in the world. And one of the things that's overwhelming today is we have such an amplification of negative, polarizing content and things that just seem crazy. And we need to remember that there are so many people out here in the world doing good things, helping other people, and we need to continue to do good work, and we need to share the hope that we have with each other and lift each other up. So find ways this week to lift others up, to be in service to other people, to be well. I hope you have a good week. Take care.